afternoon. Good afternoon, my family. Good afternoon and blessings. Oh, what a time. I tell you, what a time we're in today. But I thank God for the opportunity to bring you real knowledge, lest we perish for lack of it. You know, the kind of knowledge that will help to expose the hidden psychosis of our existence. We're going to get there. Yeah, we're going to get there, you know, to a true understanding of who we really are. As always, I want to thank my crew. You know, the queens here, Sheila, Lula, and Juanita. My promo crew, Prince Elijah, and Halim, and Princess Chastity. My engineer, King Norm, for allowing us the space. And, of course, my co-host, King Professor Terry Benjamin. Of course, you all know me. I'm Ruby Williams Shivers, your unapologetic amateur, still looking for experts in Africanism. The main purpose of this podcast is to bring true knowledge, because we need to know why we see what we see. And really what we see are disproportionality in health, wealth, and education. And number two, we see those of us who appear contrary to the original Africans we read about. You know, we need to know why we produce people such as Clarence Thomas, Candace Owen, Tim Scott, and even some of us who just don't understand that there are syndromes driving what we think of ourselves. Dr. Joy DeGraw calls them post-traumatic slave syndromes. Yes. So this podcast is about clarification. See, I visualize our situation as a virus. As a matter of fact, I coined the phrase African slave virus 401, because I declare that 200 years of brutality, unlike any that's been recorded or heard about, and another 200 plus years of Jim Crow racism, even our faith-based people we are today. And number three, the psychologist. Oh, yeah. Same as the pandemic or any other major catastrophe, need professionals, experts, specialists. Well, doesn't it make sense then that we would need specialists, experts, professionals who could get to the bottom of our psychosis? Now, no shame on us, but it is a shame that this logic is not recognized by some of the greatest minds on the planet. That's why my podcast will always attempt to bring in guests who shed some light on this enigma. But our scheduled guest today could not make it. So I've been weird now, man. So identify yourself, Terry, yes, as a writer by nature, yes, author, yes, constant creator, and keynote speaker. Yes. How do you break that down?
That's a good question. That's a very good question, you know. Again, you know, I look at my life, and I always look at my life like 10 years ahead. Okay. If I'm 20, I'm looking at 30, 30 looking at 40, 40 looking at 50, and et cetera. But to break it down in terms of the way I see myself now, I see myself as a writer by nature. If I never wrote anything again, I would still have those same instincts to try to discover something new, to try to create something new.
Is that an African trait, you think?
I believe it is. I believe it is. I believe it is.
Creative writers.
Yeah, so by nature, we are creative people. And the second thing is author. Author is someone who writes books. I've written books. I've published books, and I still enjoy doing that. And then the other thing is a content creator. I believe that you, as a writer, as an author, you're always creating something new. Yeah. And I try to create something that people will really appreciate, not to be selfishly created for myself, but for others. And the last thing that I put down is keynote speaker, which means that at a moment's notice.
Okay.
I got to be ready to talk.
I got to be forever prepared, forever ready.
Ever ready.
Yeah.
Ever ready, right? To say if you're ready, you don't have to get ready.
So, what are the two guiding principles you live by for your life?
Oh, well, I like acronyms. Acronyms is, you take something and you say a word and you sort of break it down. And the two that I live by, and the first one is I went to a conference in the early 20s, early 200s, and I went to a conference and I met this gentleman named Kenneth Brown, and he wrote a book called Life.
Okay.
And he broke it down. And he says, life, Life, is living in freedom every day. And so one of the things that I live by since I met Kenneth, haven't seen him in years. I don't even know if he's still alive. But he gave me this book, and I still have this book on my desk as we speak. Living in freedom every day is something that I really believe in. I believe that every day you have a chance to really sort of recreate yourself, recreate your life. And that's why I can never be really sad, because I have opportunity to do everything again and do it better. And the second thing is peace. And I break it down, P-E-A-C-E. And the P is for passion. I live with passion. I live in passion. I'm excited about life. I'm excited about the things I can create. So passion. E is for excellence. If I can't do it the best, I don't even want to do it, because I believe in excellence. I believe that you got to always give it your best, always give it your all. So it's passion, it's excellence, and A is for attitude. When I say about attitude, is that you can't always determine what happens to you,
Right.
but you can determine your response. Like if I went to the doctor today, he said, Mr. Benjamin, got some bad news for you. You have cancer. And I wouldn't really feel good about that, but my attitude would be like, I'm going to beat this. That's my attitude. I'm going to beat this. You know? And the C is for creativity. I love creativity. I can watch HGTV shows all day. I love interior design. I love architecture. I mean, I was 17 years old and I subscribed to Architectural Digest because I wanted to see the big homes and the new homes and how they put things together, because I think creativity is really what drives us. And the last thing is expectation. Expectation. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, or the next day or the next week, but I'm looking forward to it. I have expectations. One of the things that I want to do in 2025 is I want to build a non-profit foundation. It's going to be called Mind, Body, and Books. Mind, Body, and Books, because I believe that we need to build our literacy. And the mind is something that we definitely have to build. The body, the mind and the body go together. You know, when I exercise for my body, I also exercise for my mind. And the last thing is books. Every day, I read. You know, I read. And I tell my students when I was teaching that you should read 2 books a week. A fiction book and a nonfiction book. Fiction book because it's a made-up story, and nonfiction because it's giving you information that you never had. And I really believe this, and I think that people who do this, people who read, I always say that readers are leaders, because you always have something to give to a conversation.
Right.
And I believe in conversation.
That sounds very interesting. I see where you believe in music too. Now tell me your daily music blog. I know you have a daily music blog on the Facebook, right?
Every day.
Okay.
Every day.
Tell us about that.
And it started with something kind of silly. You know, just to show you I got time on my hands. I sat down one day, and for some reason, I said, how many R&B songs have love in the title? So I sat down and I found 100 songs with love in the title, like Love Will Let Me Wait, you know, Love Come Down, you know, all these things with love. And so I found 100. And what I decided to do, I decided to write 100 essays about each one of these songs. And then I messed around and found another 100.
Okay.
And so and I started my blog. And now I'm into a situation where I'm doing what I call Soul Music RX, and I go album by album, song by song. So I'll pick an album. Like last week I did Earth, Wind, and Fire. They did an album in 1975 called That's the Way of the World, which was also a soundtrack for a movie. And what I did is I present the album, and then I talk about each track. Each track, and so I write an essay on each track. And I've been doing that, and I've been doing it. And I'm doing one now with Rufus, and I did Jerry Butler. I did Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
Freddie Jackson. That
All
type
the big
of,
ones, huh?
right. And the thing with me
All
is
the
that, you know, I
giants.
mean, as a poor kid, I really I listened to radio. I was always a big radio fan, and that's why I laugh when I see all these podcasts come out.
Right.
You know, because I'm a big radio person. I like to, even when I listen to our podcast, I like to just sit in the room and just close my eyes and just sort of take it in.
Yeah.
Because I know for myself that that's important. And when I was growing up, young man and very precocious, they always say I was an old soul. Even though I was young, I thought sort of deep thoughts and whatnot. And music, that R&B music,
Yeah.
for me was the sound of my thoughts.
Well, that
and
was
my
the
feelings.
soundtrack of a lot of folks.
Exactly,
thoughts
right,
and
right, right. But
Yeah.
see, with me is that I always not listen to music, but also listen to lyrics because
Yes.
again, a writer at heart, a poet at heart, and the thing was that this music for me was important. And the thing that the reason I do it every day is that I don't want us to lose this music of the '60s, the '70s, and the '80s.
That was
And,
those are the music.
Those are the best times. And I'm afraid that as we get away from that time, we're going to forget.
Oh,
We're going to
definitely
forget the
we will.
Marvin Gayes and the Curtis Mayfields
Yeah.
and all these people who really shaped my life because I learned a lot of my values
Yeah.
from this music.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, sometimes we just put those things in the background and it's just not right.
Yeah, because again, it comes out of the R&B experience, but also comes out of the gospel experience too.
Yeah.
That's why somebody like Aretha Franklin can sing gospel, and she can sing R&B.
Sure.
Because as far as I'm concerned, it's all connected. I call it
Well, that's
soul
a
music.
tradition. Yeah, well, that is a tradition of our black music, period.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
coming
yes.
all the way back from gospel, you know, hymns or
Yeah,
whatever, you know,
exactly,
created
yeah.
those sounds
And I
that
always said
linger
that-
on
yeah.
today.
And I always said there's a message in our music. Like with
Definitely.
Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, you know, with the Teddy Pendergrass and Lou Rawls and all these people. There was a message in that music, the OJs.
Yes.
Talking about family reunion.
Yeah.
Talking about, you know,
Right.
for the love of
Very
money.
message oriented, always.
Right,
There
right,
was
right.
always the need to express
Yes.
some, while we understood the negativity of our time, we wanted to be positive in ways that could motivate us forward.
Well, that's
So
it.
that's what it was all
And
about.
I don't see a lot of that now, which sort of hurts me
Wow.
because again, I think even more so now
Yeah.
than ever before, we need a structure to our lives, and we need to really hand these young people messages that they can take.
Well, that's
with
part
them.
of what our podcast is about, right?
Exactly.
We're just
No
trying
doubt
to
about it. No doubt about it.
re-educate ourselves
Yes.
to
yes,
how we
yes.
got left of our base
That's right.
and went into some other things. It wasn't us that went into it. I always make that very
Make
clear.
that clear, make
So
that
we
clear,
don't.
yeah.
We'll begin to again point fingers at ourselves and wonder why we're not keeping up with this, or why we're not doing this, or why we're our worst enemy, or why we. Well, it's not a why we have to study. Old folks I talk about.
Yes. Yes.
The
yes,
experts I talk
Yes,
about,
yes,
we
yes.
wouldn't ask that question if we was talking about the pandemic. We would go to who we know has studied the pandemic
right,
to give
that's
us
right.
the answer.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know sometimes we get frustrated, and obviously naturally so. Our people have gone in all kinds of different directions.
Yeah,
But it's not that that was something that they did themselves. It had to come from a place. And once we understand it came from a place, and that place was slavery.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Many of us don't want to go back there or talk about it or say, oh, that was then.
Yeah.
No, but what happened then had effect on us throughout our lives.
Because we carry the wounds.
Carry the
We
wounds
carry-
of
we
it.
carry the
Post-traumatic
scars.
slave
Yeah,
syndromes and a whole lot of other stuff that's
and,
going
It's
on.
so funny because I was looking at Morning Joe this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and they were talking about, black men, and their relationship to Kamala Harris, and the fallacy and the rumor that black men are not supporting Harris. And the thing is that black men always supported black women.
Yes.
Okay. And please, and Reverend Sharpton made a good case. He said, every man on this planet came through a woman.
Yeah.
So we have to love women.
Yeah.
And we do.
Yeah.
And black men, we will support Kamala because that is really our future.
Yeah, and one of the things we must know about this particular incident, I'm
Yes,
glad you
please,
brought that up. We point fingers at the ones who the finger shouldn't be pointed
That's
at.
something.
Even if there's anything that we are not doing right, we have to look back on a system that created the brainwashing and the misguided idea of who we are. Brain dirtying, as my friend would say. But unless we realize that, we will. And some of our black men, or few of them, because I don't agree that I do not believe that a majority of our black men are going against Kamala Harris. I don't even believe a few of them are.
No, I don't.
But to the extent
that's propaganda,
that one,
really.
propaganda.
Yeah.
To the extent that maybe one or two of them are, it's a misunderstanding. Because see, what happens with us, we never recognize, or we never allowed ourselves to believe that there was something happened to the mind, the brain, the body, the soul over those 200 years of just unthinkable damage that was done to us. Until we deal with that, we are going to always look at our men or our women, or the Thomases of the world, because they are different. They're not acting in a sense that we know is Africanism. That's why I use that term.
That's a beautiful term.
Because that means something different. That don't mean just anybody who might know a little bit about us from a perspective. You got to know the psychological damage that was done to us over 200 years. I'm not talking about the last 200 years of racism and sexism and all that other kind of stuff. Just the first 200 years of untold tragedy to our brain, our mind, the stripping of us, stripped of us, our language, our history, our religion, culture, all that was stripped of us. And then after the stripping of the 200 years,
as if that wasn't enough.
That wasn't enough. Then the immense brutality on your brain, your mind, that was only a psychologist will be able to unravel. But we don't go that far. We just say, well, we want to try to get here, get there. Now, getting back to Kamala Harris, I tell you where some of that is coming from, because I had heard it before. Some young men have said that, I don't know her record, I don't know what happened with her as Attorney General out of California, but I think some of it comes from the fact that she was Attorney General prosecutor. I've said from the very beginning, when we begin to get accepted in these positions of authority, way back when Kenneth Gibson, I'm dating myself,
you go way back.
Yeah, back when Kenneth Gibson became one of the first mayors. I knew then, I said that I was sense enough to know then that might not be the best. We were proud of the fact that we were being included, but it may not have been the best, because when you're included, then you're going to have to start compromising.
That's right.
And when you're compromising, you're going to compromise to suit the person who got control of you, who had control. So even with Kamala Harris, Kamala, I'm so sorry, Kamala Harris. Even with her, when she was a prosecutor wherever, she was still under the control of the folks who controlled.
Of course,
her.
She had
so to the extent,
her,
she had to compromise a little bit and may have done something that was not what we would accept. We still got to understand she had been put in a position. And as long as we are trying to move up, be the first, I don't even like that term, the first dog. When you say you're the first, that means that you couldn't find any other black out there that would meet the challenge. But it makes some of us feel real good to know that we're the first this or the first that. But that too cannot be blamed on us, because we are so eager so anxious to become involved, become a part of. And that's what happened. Now with the vice president, she was in an era and a time when she got those positions. Common sense would tell her that she had to do a little compromise. What will be the results of her now will be what we make it be. If we continue to keep a track of what she's doing, on top of what she's doing, like we always have had to be out there on the tarmac, the field fighting.
Of course.
So it's no different, but at least we will have a chance with her. We don't have a chance with the other side.
And that's why, we have to come together. And I like the fact that you brought that up, because I also like the fact that when we open the program, you're talking about the three things: faith, history, and psychology. And I know for myself, faith, they said faith is the expectation of things that are not seen.
Right.
And I know for myself, I've always, ever since I was a little kid, I always had faith. I don't care how bad it was, I always had the idea that it would get better. In history, I studied history. I studied black history. I studied the history of my family and my friends, and that helped me in psychology. I think for myself, the secret of my success, if I had any success, is that I've always been a student of psychology.
Yeah.
And one of the things I know now is that your mindset is what makes the difference. You either have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. In psychology, for me, I have a growth mindset. It means that no matter how old I am, I'm still wanting to grow. I still wanted to develop my mind. And I think when you bring out these three things, and you bring them out every time we come here, it helps people to really understand the repetition.
Yeah.
The more we do something, the better it becomes. That's why I told my mother at 9 years old, Mom, I want to be a writer. And ever since that time, I've been writing every single day. And I write every day, and when I say every day, that's Saturday and Sunday. And I know that I've gotten better because it's not that it's easier, but it's more accessible.
Right.
What if I have an idea, I can flush it out.
Yeah.
And now we have the new technology. We have Google. I remember back in the day when I was writing about music, I would actually sit down with the music and play the music all over again and again, and then write down the lyrics. But now I can go to Google and get them.
Yeah, there's so much accessibility now. And the one thing we gotta always know, though, even with all this modern technology and all that's going on, we as an African people are still uniquely different in that we come from a place that no one else has. No one else has. So when we're dealing with our situation here, we have to deal with it from a different place. We have to first know that, make comparison, make analogies. Look at this virus that came through. When this pandemic, I did that with my book. I just released my last book, which Ode to the Black Man, Why Should I Cry? And wanted to explain it in a way that I figured a lot of people would not understand and just think you're making excuses still, you're trying to make excuses. But when this pandemic, God came to me and said, use that as an example.
That's right.
Because when that pandemic came out, no one was trying to go anywhere else except to someone who they thought had the knowledge, the expertise to get them through this 2 million people dying over a period of, a short period of time. Yeah, and then I went to what happened was to show you how you can begin to understand what you're looking at. I went to this primary doctor of mine, knowing that he was a medical person, to school, had gone to school and got a degree and all that. So that sure he might give me some answers.
Yes.
He said to me straightforward, without any hesitation, embarrassment, he said, "I'm not the expert
on this. Yeah.
He's an expert on whatever he's an expert, but he was not the expert, and we assuming. And I use that as an example for us. Why would we assume that we have gone through worse than any pandemic that has been on the earth?
Yes.
Ours is 3 and 4 times worse. So why do we assume that anybody like me, unapologetic amateur looking for experts in Africanism, why should I be able to direct us as a people in the direction that we need to go? We need specialties. We need folks like Dr. DeGraw who had written a book about post-traumatic slave syndrome. We need Dr. Cress Wilson, the Cress paper, Dr. John Henry Clark, all those that have done the research and studied what the damage was done to us over those 200 years and can apply it in a way that will help us get back to our new self. Now, right? You know what I'm saying?
Take back our mind.
And so that takes somebody other than just anybody.
Of course.
It takes someone who has studied this specifically, like the neurologist or the scientists who study what they study.
Yes.
So that's one of the things we want to make very clear on this podcast, that when we're talking about experts in Africanism, we mean specific. We mean someone who can come and kind of help us unravel what has been done with our minds, because it's evident. It's obvious.
It definitely is.
That if when you look at a person in his position, Thomas, obviously you're not talking academic. because he was in, I think, Harvard. So it has nothing
Yeah,
to do with how.
There's book smarts
Yeah.
and there's street smarts and then
Yeah.
there's common sense.
It's common sense. And then my mama would say, but there's the, what was that other word the expression she would use for them, just dummies. And not by,
They're there.
Uh-huh.
They're there too,
Yeah, but that is, and it's no reflection on anyone. That is just what it is.
That's
When
just
you
what it
got
is.
people involved in a situation that they couldn't get out from under for 200 years,
Yeah, yeah.
and depending, even with us understanding as much as we do about us, that's a miracle.
It is a miracle.
We
It
were
definitely
stripped,
is. Yeah,
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
strip for those 200 years, and it's not easy to put back in place. But we, fortunately,
We did it.
as
We
genius
did it.
as
We're
we
still
are,
here.
we're still
We're
here,
still standing.
and
right?
that says something too.
Says a lot.
That
Says
says
a
a
lot.
whole lot. But it
Yeah.
also said then that there was a few of us out of those millions of us who brought over here that know that we need something other than just anybody saying anything,
Yeah.
and we accept them as experts. Because if you listen, again, I call his name. If you listen to a Clarence Thomas, he went through school on affirmative action,
Oh,
but
yeah,
he
yeah.
denies
Denied
that
it. He denied
he doesn't want it now. And he's in on the Supreme Court.
He
That
came in there. He closed the door so nobody else
Closed
can
the
get
door.
in. That's
one of the
sad.
reasons I'm gonna get back to what we really need,
Yes.
and that's reparation.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if we
Yeah,
had
yeah.
reparations, we wouldn't even have to consider things like affirmative
level
action.
the playing field there.
Yeah.
yeah.
You would be starting from a level playing field, and to start from a level playing field in this society, that means money.
That does.
I mean,
yeah.
you got to have some cash up front, and if we had what was due us,
Yeah.
not
Even at
giving
40,
nobody
40 acres in the moon.
40
If I
acres
had
in
that,
if we
that'll
had
give me a
that,
good start.
then we could start from there.
That's right. That's
And
right.
any other thing that may have been out there as a giveaway,
Yes, yes.
it would not just be us.
Yeah.
Because if I understand it clearly, the affirmative action benefited the white female,
More than anybody
more than
else.
anybody else.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
you know, because they had probably a legitimate cause because of their white males who had dominated everything, took things away from them
That's
too.
right, right.
So
And
they
you got
came
that,
in
you
and
got that.
and then
Snatched
they
that.
benefited.
They did. They did.
I understand, like with the reparation, they want to change the name. See, it's all in the name. It's all in how you allow other folks to define you.
Always. It's always
Always.
in the name. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the name, I understand they want to take it away from being reparation to what was that?
Economic
Economic
empowerment,
parity.
Parity.
Yeah, economic parity. Now, if it didn't
Whatever
matter,
that means, right?
right? If it didn't matter, Terry, why would they want to change the name?
That's a
So
good
something
question.
to stop us right in our track then, and say, if you mean you want to change the name, we need to understand why you would want to change the name.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you know, because there's some people may say, well, it doesn't matter a name. Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does. You know. I
Because
remember-
if you say economic parity, then the same person, the white woman, can come and realize that she had been disparaged again too by her white male, because they are the one that controlled everything.
Yeah, but what you call something makes a difference. 'Cause I know, like, when I was at Union County College, and they asked me to come over here to Plainfield to be assistant director of the Plainfield campus. And they said, well, we're going to give you a raise, beautiful, but we're not going to call you assistant director. We're going to call you a coordinator. And I said, no. I said, I want to be known as assistant director. And I said that not because I want to make myself feel good, but if I went to another place and they asked me what I did, and I said coordinator, they're not going to understand what that meant.
Right.
But if I say assistant director, they will understand what that meant exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why.
And if I
what
say
a name is
reparation,
important.
they understand clearly. I mean that money that you took from my forefather, my ancestors, that they worked for 200 years,
right.
free labor.
Yeah, because
But
what is
if I say
economic
economic
parity? What is that?
Got to explain that one to me. So yeah, we got a lot to deal with.
But it just goes to show how important language is.
Yeah,
you know,
show you how
You know,
important.
as what they once said is not what you call me, is what I answer to.
Yeah.
Okay, you call me the N word, I'm going to ignore that. But if you call me Mister, or you call me King, I'll respond to that. Because the other thing, I don't accept that, so I'm not going to respond to it.
Speaking of that, you just got me kind of sidetracked. Now, speaking of words and the N word, we're going to be producing the children book.
Yes,
all
yes,
of
yes.
us.
Yes, I remember.
And
Yeah.
and then the children book is about what to tell you the name of it's written from a young nephew of mine who
Yeah.
back in the day when he was a little kid, he was with his godmother and he with his sister and his godmother they was eating, and so the godmother asked him how he was doing in school.
Yes,
he came up from Virginia.
Right, of course.
And of course, he said he was doing fine, doing fine. But the little sister said, "No, you weren't. You're not doing fine." The teacher said, "Blah blah blah," and he said to her, "Must you tell everything?"
Yeah, must you? What?
So the name of the book that we're doing is "Must You Tell Everything?"
Yeah.
That's the subtitle. The title is "What's in a Name."
That's right.
You
What's in a
mentioned
name?
that. What's in a name?
What's in a name?
It is a name could be telling, you know.
Yes, it's
and if you
important.
answer to anything, then you're anything. But you have to be very careful of the names you answer to. So the book going to be coming out within a couple of months or so. We're going to be
'cause you have
promoting it,
illustrated now,
illustrating
which is good.
everything.
Yeah.
So it's what's in a name, and as you said, you call the person the N word, and some of us now used to say, "Well, that's a word of endearment." No, nonsense.
Nothing
Nothing to endear
never
about.
is. And it's so funny because all married men out there in the audience know that your wife can get you to do anything if she asks you nicely. You have a list of things that she wants you to do. So she says, "Honey, would you please do this?" Now I will do that, as opposed to just say, "You didn't do this, you didn't do that." But if you say, "Honey, please,"
Helps in the name.
make it a little sweeter, and I respond to that.
Yeah, but it is so important. As a matter of fact, I was listening to Queen Mother Moore.
Oh,
I remember
right.
her
Beautiful
back in the
spirit.
day. Yeah, beautiful spirit.
Yes.
And she was saying how we have accepted all these names that we have.
Yeah.
Not that we accepted them, they were put upon us.
Yes.
But we have to deal with them. But I said all that to say names are always very important in African society.
Yes.
The name meant something.
It does. It did. Yes.
And it's very important now for our young people to learn these names.
Yes.
And some of them are even adopting these names.
Yes.
And we are in the school that we started, the little homeschooling. We're teaching our children about their African history, and purposely to do that for that reason. You got to know that there was a beginning to who you are. It's not what you see at the end.
No.
It was something just beautiful, and we need to engage our children, and particularly when they're taking books out of school.
Yes,
when they're taking their books from
how I
us.
feel about books.
Now, getting back to you in books, you have done some forwards on a few books, right?
Yeah.
Give us some information around that.
Yeah, so funny. It's funny because I remember when you came with your book. You sent me like a advance copy of it, and you asked me, what I thought about.
Let me just read it.
And I wrote not a sort of forward, but some back copy to that.
Yes, let me just read it on him. I thought it was
what did I say?
What did you say? Let me see what you said. You said this. Let me see. This is okay. You said, "Why Shouldn't I Cry? Ode to the Black Man." That's my book, y'all.
Yeah.
By Ruby Shivers is that book we didn't see coming, but now that it is here, it must be embraced. Like that lifeline we weren't expecting, but know we have to grab onto to save a life. And more specifically, the lives of our black men, young and old. Sister Shivers deep dives into the topic as a self-proclaimed amateur, but her insights are timely and prophetic, pointing to how far we have come, but how far we still need to go. She urges our, quote, experts to take control of the narrative. The story we have been told and the story we tell needs to see himself in the light of our heritage and legacy. In this slim volume, Sister Shivers includes some personal history with unsung heroes, which include husbands, fathers, and sons, and personal experiences that illustrate the power of these men in her life. The talented, quote, amateur goes where we need to go and lights a candle to show the way. Now explain that, my brother.
Well, you know,
That was beautiful, nice and heavy.
no, that definitely was because I think what I've done with that book was that you know, let me read it in advance, and I thought about it, and my process is I read the book, and then I sort of marinate on it, and then I write what I consider a review. And with your particular book, I felt it was timely, and it was something that I think people should read. And it's so funny because as a result of this right here, I started a whole new career for myself.
Okay.
I began writing book reviews for Amazon,
Okay.
and I got to the point where I read a couple of books each week. So I was actually doing a review a week and sending it to Amazon. And then what happened is that I got to the point where they started sending me books.
Oh.
And then they got to the point where, like, when you write a book review for Amazon, they tell you, you know, we'll give us a few days to review it, and we'll post it. But now I'm at the point where let's say if I write a review this morning, that review will be published by this afternoon.
Okay.
You know, and so what happened is that I became sort of a quote expert in book reviews. And it came out of that, because my whole thing about books is very organic and is very spiritual in the sense that, I mean, I love reading and I love writing.
Right.
And these things come together, and I love authors.
Yeah.
You know, I love authors because you continue to show creativity. And it's so funny because I know that you're not done. And it's funny, and just in transparency, when I was on the show a few times as a guest, then you asked me to be the permanent co-host, and it made me laugh because I didn't see that coming, because I'm the type of person, believe it or not, I'm very introverted.
Okay.
And people
I
don't
can't
believe
that one.
Yeah. I'm an introverted extrovert, because I'd rather be home reading a book or watching a movie, that kind of thing. But I'm also the type of person that when I need to be there, I will be there. But I find out for myself is that I like being behind the scenes.
You're right.
I mean, I told you I like, you know, producing shows.
Yeah.
I like making books. You know, I like, you know, putting books together, that kind of thing that I like to do.
When I first, not first met you, I mean, when I knew you around, your interest in books, was with Donna, what's her name, Donna Hill?
Yeah, Donna Hill. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I know you had done something with her, and I see now where her latest book is being picked up by, what's the sister who produced movies now?
I know the name is Shepherd. I can't remember the last name, but it will come to us.
Yeah.
But they picked up, and it's so funny because in terms of Donna Hill, this is maybe the 6th or 7th book that has been picked up as a movie. Because back in the day, when BET started doing films, they got about 5 of her books, you know, to make into movies. And Donna Hill, when I read her first book, I said, this girl is very good. Then I read her second book, and then I had the audacity to call the publishing company and ask, could I speak to her? And I brought her to Plainfield for a book signing.
Okay.
And I introduced her at the book signing, and we've been friends ever since. As a matter of fact, when she was looking for a job, she asked me to write a recommendation for her for a job at Essex County College, and I did that, and she got the job.
Okay.
But the point I'm making is that this is a young woman who is now a full-fledged professor, and it all came through books. Yeah. I became a professor because of books, because, you know, it's so funny. I was at Union County College, and they had a black history course, but it was really an African American literature course. And they were trying to find somebody to teach this course. And Professor Penrose was retiring. Make a long story short, they said, well, who reads a lot of books? And they said, well, Terry does. He's always reading a book. So they asked me, could I teach this course? Now I realized I never taught a course like that before, but I said yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I taught that course. When I taught another course, and then when I retired as a college administrator, I went into teaching without a master's, without a PhD, but I had a lot of on-the-job training.
Yeah.
And then when I went into the system, they would give us these big anthologies of literature. They had all these writers like Arthur Miller, Robert Frost, and that people. Then they had a little small section on black literature. And I knew these authors. And so when I taught, I would teach the white writers and the black writers, and I was the only one who was doing that because the white writers, the white professors, they felt, oh, this can be so important. And I was reading these books, and then one day, one of the perks of being a professor is that you get free books.
Okay.
One day in my office, they sent me a book by Sonia Sanchez.
Okay.
And it was just from the publisher. And I read the books, and I turned the book over the back, and it said that she was teaching at Temple University. And on a whim, I called Temple University, and I figured I'd probably get her a secretary. And I just wanted to say, would she be willing to come to Union County College to give a speech? Make a long story short, I called the number, and she answered the number.
Okay.
And I said, is this Sonia Sanchez? She said, yeah, I'm Sonia Sanchez. It blew my mind. And I said,
Yeah,
what?
I guess it
I became
She was a
fanboy.
great artist,
I
yeah.
said, you
Awesome.
like Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez, James Baldwin, all these people. I was just so excited. I said, I want you to come to Union County College. I said, I don't know how much money I can get for you to come, but I want you to come, and I will actually, you can sell your books and that kind of thing. Make a long story short, she said yes. I went to the English department. I was so excited. I went to the English chairperson, Dr. Norman Will, and I said, Dr. Will, Sonia Sanchez said that she could come to Union County College. And he said, who is Sonia Sanchez?
Oh, really?
I said, Dr. Will, I mean, you're a doctor of literature. And you don't know Sonia Sanchez? He said, no. So he said, look, why don't you come to our next department meeting and just tell us who Sonia Sanchez is. Ruby, I came in, I had about a stack of books like this.
Oh.
And I put my books down, I put my notes down, and for a half an hour, I talked about Sonia Sanchez. And I just let them know. And then she came. We had a nice turnout, but this was the time of a big major snowstorm.
Oh, wow.
And so what happened? We tried to hold the people there. We tried to filibuster. Make a long story short, we had to let them go. As we were letting them go because it was getting bad,
Right.
she walks in. The woman is like 4 foot nothing.
Okay.
And she had a big bag of books, and she had an African dress. I said, Sonia, me and my wife will take you back to the train station because she was in Philadelphia at that time.
Right.
We'll have you come back. So when she came back, that place was packed.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
And I
well,
could-
Sonia says, I guess it would be, right?
Yeah.
She's quite a great
yeah,
author.
She's still growing strong, but the point of that story is the fact that we have people in our culture, in our history, that are major writers
Yeah.
and major creators and whatnot, but the big community at large don't know these people because you know what? They don't take the time to know. But I knew as a college professor, I had to know that stuff and my stuff and their stuff and everybody's stuff because one of the secrets of my success in my career as a professor was I was so doggone afraid that I wouldn't be able to answer to the questions, so I overstudied, I over-prepared. You know, I became a person where, like, there's nothing you couldn't ask me that I didn't know
Right.
because and there's some things that I know to this day, like when I was building my vocabulary. I would get these books like a 30 Days of Better Vocabulary.
Right.
I read a book in 1 week.
Right. Yeah, well,
So there are words
Met the
that in my
requirement.
vocabulary that I can't use because you think I'm showing off.
Right.
And you would understand.
Of our lives. Basically, what we are, we kind of limited
Overcompensate.
in that we have to kind of step back. Don't want anyone to think that we are being stepping out our boundary.
And again, I never wanted anybody to say, well, you know what? They only hired him because he's black. They only hired him because he's male. They only hired because of affirmative action. And I never wanted to, I wanted to be, I want to be world class,
Yeah.
If
Well,
what I have
that
is
never
good,
bothered me.
It never, no.
No, never bothered me because I know they knew better. I know they always knew that we had to be 2, 3, 4 times better than the average person to get the job we got.
Yeah.
In many of my situations, I was the first.
Me
I
too.
remember I was the first manager on this computer
Yeah,
company
yeah, see
on 22,
that? Yeah, see that?
Route 22. And the manager, I was the branch administrative manager, and there was the manager for the entire company.
Yes, yes,
So he
yes.
used to bring me into his office every afternoon as though he needed to talk to me about the situation.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
wanted to hear the history of
Yeah,
it.
of course,
And
of
I would
course.
always tell it. We always ended up with history.
Yeah, of course.
But anyway, one day he asked me, don't you feel good to be the first black? I said, no, I don't. That's an insult.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, why would I be the first? But why would I think I know more than any other black that could handle this little job you giving me?
Isn't that something?
And when I finished, he understood clearly. I just was not impressing me a little bit.
Not at all.
I'm doing it, but there's a million other black folk who could do it and do it better.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it never impressed me to be the only or the first. And one of the reasons I sort of resent when I hear that term, even now. And I think a lot of us resent it because I hear a lot of us backing up on it.
Oh, yeah, of
They say,
course, of
don't
course.
think that excite me
Yeah.
to tell me I'm the first, or because obviously there's other ones who could have.
Yeah.
handled
Yeah,
it.
but I felt that I was blessed to do this,
Yeah.
and what I did, like, I mean, I came into Union County College. I was 23 years old, and then I started teaching, and in my mind I had an idea what a teacher looked like, and so every day I would come dressed in a suit and a tie, and it made me laugh because I would be in meetings with the president, the vice president, all these other people and whatnot, and I'm sitting there in a beautiful suit and shirt and tie that my wife picked out because she was a big shopper. She would go to Daffy Dan's, and she would, she would go to get these labels for less,
Right,
So
right.
I was always impeccable because they might have said a lot of things about me, but they couldn't say that that Benjamin didn't look like a professor. And when I retired, they called me Dr. Benjamin. I don't have a master's. I don't have a PhD. I taught at Kane University. I taught Jersey State University, Union County College, and Essex County College.
Well, that's one of the things you just said it. We allow ourselves to put them in places that they don't even need to be. We allow, and no fault of our own, we
No,
just
no,
assume that they're supposed to be up here and we are supposed to be down there.
Right.
But we've learned over time.
Brain dirty.
Yeah, darn dirty. And we learned over time that in order for us to even get near them, we had to be 3 times better.
We have to
You know,
be.
that's no lie. So when we're, even like now they're talking about, do you believe they're talking about Kamala Harris
You
as
see
being
black?
not that she's black, but she's she's ignorant.
Yeah, she's not
Now
intelligent.
to use that word on a woman who have been both the attorney general,
But look who's
she's
saying
a
it.
prosecutor.
This
Look-
guy saying that she can't do a press conference
Yeah.
because she's not smart enough.
Yeah.
The guy that does a press conference where he just rants for an hour
Yeah.
on all stupid things, talking about his crowd was bigger than the crowd for Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
You know.
And to even report that, I blame the
news
news
media for that.
media.
It's
They
ridiculous.
understand that clearly, but they want to promote that image too. You know, because they know. I
Thank you out there.
Sheila Bird, welcome. Robert Cabbage, thank me. We were watching. Lula Salvador, Dina Robinson. I'm gonna call you, hon. I gotta call you. Rashida Johnson, good. I see you. I'm so happy that you're always there.
thank
Robert
you.
Cabbage,
Yeah.
Lloyd Cyrus, and good afternoon, family. I appreciate it. I sure, Jabbar, appreciate it, baby. Lorraine, appreciate I'm listening and agreeing. Okay. I'm just so
thank you.
thankful for those of you who will continue to bless us with your presence. That means so much. Sharon, see you? All right. Okay, I see him now. Yep. Just so excited that you all
our
are
friends
watching.
and family. Thank
Yes,
you. Thank you for being out
thank you so
there.
much.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you so much. But we have a great guest on today. We are going to said before. Well, we're not just going to wing it. We're doing real great with my guest here. I've just learned
we're
so
family
much.
here, and don't forget to subscribe. Press that subscribe button. Also share. And so other people can really see the program, hear the program, and really just be with family.
Yeah, so we are doing what we're trying to do is to share knowledge, and not just knowledge for knowledge's sake, but true knowledge, lest we perish for lack of it. And we don't want to do that. We're not going to perish. I'm so encouraged with what we're seeing going in today. 3 months ago, I told you, not less than 3 months ago, maybe a month ago, I was looking at my passport, checking my bank account, and I checked my passport. It was
Getting out of here.
yeah, getting out of here. I checked my passport and it was it's valid, my passport. But then, Cherry, I checked my bank account and it wasn't looking too good.
I can't go now.
I don't know how much it costs to get to Africa, but I knew I was going to have to do something.
Yeah,
But now, with the last couple of weeks or so, oh my goodness, change around. God is good all the time.
Hope is alive.
Hope is alive, and that means that all of you, every one of you, go out and vote.
That's right. Vote.
Encourage your people to vote. Bring people to don't vote go for the okadoke that doesn't mean anything. One don't mean no more better than the other. Yeah, that's not correct.
That's not correct.
There's nothing is perfect.
No,
let's be real about that. Nothing is perfect. And as I said at the beginning of this show, one of the things we as black folks always knew, that when our people begin to get up and involved in the society, they had to do a little compromising.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to sit back and allow that to happen. We still fight, because we've always fight.
Yeah.
We've always fought.
When we fight, we
win. But it's better
win.
to fight for something you think you have a chance in changing than something that you know you don't have a chance. You know, so it just make common sense to not even use that expression these days, but one is no better than the other. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's a big difference.
It's a big difference. You're talking about the difference between democracy, so-called democracy, the type of democracy that we have been,
it's
accepting
definitely
here.
Not perfect. Definitely
not perfect.
Yeah.
But to the extent that if you got the other person, you won't even have that.
No, you won't.
So let's get real for this time. Yes. You vote like your heart knows it's a vote.
That's right.
You vote like your ancestors fought for you to vote.
That's right.
You vote for things that's going to better your community. That's then we fight once we get the person in that we know we can fight with.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
No one is perfect. Last I checked, I wasn't perfect. So let's go with that, okay? But we are going to make sure that we all get out and vote this time around.
Please do that.
And you
Please
teach your young people particularly. That's what I hear, that there's the problem with young people accepting. And you really, again, like I say, we have not been dealt with in a way that was teach us why we are thinking the way we are thinking.
Right. Yeah,
so it's not a blame game. It's just what it is. And our young people are so removed from the reality of where we came from.
Yeah,
they are seeing things in a totally different plane now.
Yes.
We understand, the older ones of us, wasn't that far away from the white sheets and the hanging and the clans and all that. So we kind of know how to put things in perspective. The younger people kind of lost that. They didn't lose it. They never witnessed it.
Yeah.
So what they see, they think they see. They don't even know what's happening with them. One of the things that we're going to do on this show, we're going to create a segment just for young people once a month.
Nice. Look forward to that.
Bring in our psychologists and bring in folks who can deal with what's happening with our young people, because there's so many things that they are not understanding, and they don't understand it just by yelling at them and talking to them and pointing your fingers. You got to get with them to make them see what could have happened to us over a 400-year period. That's still lingering with us. It didn't leave.
No, it didn't leave.
It didn't leave. And once we understand that, and once they understand that, they will see the need to because it's not about love. You know, you're looking for love in all the wrong places. You know, because you say this person doesn't love me. Well, Biden don't love me, or Trump doesn't love me. Well, I'm not looking for either one of their love. I'm looking for the ones that I could probably deal with better in correcting the situation in my community. That's the point. That can give an opportunity to move forward.
Right.
So let's always rely on that.
Yes.
Terry, I was going to ask you one other thing about what you're doing presently. I know you say you're doing the blog, the music blog, but are you writing any?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I have a book I'm going to bring out in 2025 called Walk the Walk, which is really about the 60s and the Black Power movement. As a matter of fact, Ken Gibson is in there, and Mama Mary Rock and that kind of stuff. Really just my experiences in the Black Power movement. And the biggest thing right now is that on Wednesday I'll be 74 years old.
Okay,
and every year what I do, my Facebook page, I write an essay. And so my essay at age 74 will be on Wednesday, which is the 14th. I don't know what I'm going to write. I have some idea what I'll talk about, but basically what I do is that every year I sort of sum up, where I've been and where I'm coming from. So look for that on my Facebook page on August the 14th. my birthday essay. And then again, and of course, we're going to do more shows with you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
That's
and more
ongoing.
books with you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm doing the, as I said, my first children book
Yes,
will be coming out hopefully by the end of the year.
yes, yes.
And then I got this memoir to my son who passed 2 or 3 years ago,
Yes, yes.
my baby boy, and doing a memoir there. And I think that's going to be the end of my writing because I'm just going to sit back and read other folks' writing and see what they're doing. Yours particularly.
Ladies and gentlemen, she says that, but you're going to find out for most writers, like myself included, you think you're done, but you're not done.
I encourage all of you too who have not
Right.
decided to write yet. You got a book in you. Really, you just think
At
about
least
what's
one or
going on
two.
in your life and just, patiently jot down through whatever way you do it.
That's right, yeah. And again, because you're going to find there's some ideas in the air, and there's some people who need to write these things down, and you may be one of them. And so
Yeah.
we thank you for tuning in, and we encourage you to subscribe. We encourage you to share, and we encourage you to comment.
And of course, if you like what you see and like what you hear and think we need to keep it going, we want you to share finances with us
That's right, yeah, yeah.
through Ruby Shivers, $ Ruby Shivers, and also Zelle,
Yes, yes.
the old-fashioned way checks, whatever you want to do. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's what we got to do.
Okay, so on that note, please, we'll see you next Monday, and I'll be a year older, and you'll be a year wiser.
Take care now.
Take care.
Bye-bye.